These are my helpers today. It's dang near Christmas. Christmas next weekend. So far we've escaped cold weather. This is that new irrigation well we put in this summer. There really ain't much different than a residential well. I mean, it's just a 6-inch well, but where this one is different is it's got a 1-horse 10 gallon minute pump in it for irrigation purposes, and also it's got this double size bladder tank. That's about twice as big as what would normally be in a residential well. And we've got 1.25-inch roll pipe running down to that big pump instead of 1 or 3/4 that would be on like a 1/2-horse pump. So anyway, back in the summer, shortly after they got done boring this thing, we poured this pad, and we just hadn't got to building a well house because we've been so dang busy with everything else. But it looks like we're gonna get down in the teens for Christmas. Yay, Merry Christmas to us. Hate cold weather, but it is what it is. We're going to try. I don't have all the wood that I need to put the siding on this thing, but we are at least going to wrap this thing in Tyvek, insulate it, put a roof on, put a door on it, and get it all wired with our heat tape on thermostat in here, because ain't nothing going to stand the teens at night. It'll be all frozen busted. So I'm going to set up a little time lapse here, and we're fixing to put the rafters on. I did this stuff kind of modular. I drew this thing on AutoCAD, which is an awesome tool. If you know how to use it, it's extremely helpful. But I drew this. I actually used DraftSite, not AutoCAD, but it's the same thing. And laid all this stuff out online. So I knew, or not online, I laid all this mess out on the computer on AutoCAD. So I knew exactly the angles and the lengths to cut all the studs, knew exactly where they went. So I was able to go, and I actually went and bought these studs instead of sawing them just because of time. But I was able to just measure and cut and then slap it all together in the floor up there in the packing shed where I had a nice flat surface to work on, and then just carried them down here and used Tapcon screws to screw them down to the concrete and screw them together. Now we got to put the rafters on. Holly went and got the metal for us this morning, so we're gonna get busy. Alright, I'm going to catch y'all up here. Well, actually I didn't realize, I thought I was completely done with the roof system. I got one, the outside rafter to go on, kind of a trim piece, but I was going for an old school look to make it look like an old outhouse. Probably could have got by with 5x5, but oh well, it'd be alright. Wanted the exposed rafters, and you see I didn't actually sheet the whole roof solid, but I wanted it to look like it was sheeted solid, like a really old house. This one does not have exposed rafters, but people typically wouldn't spend as much time and effort on their outhouse as they did their house. So I am going to put wood siding on it, lap siding, like what's on this house. Put a double layer, 1-inch thick board and batten type door on it. In the front layer, I'm going to cut a little moon in it. Just make it look kind of neat. It's taken longer than I anticipated because anytime you're using rough cut lumber, unless you've got a mountain of your own lumber sitting there ready to go, preferably straight line ripped and planed with the ends sawed square, that's the thing that makes a big difference when you go to Lowe's and buy dressed lumber that's square on the ends. When you're using rough cut lumber, none of the ends are square. It's not dressed, so they're not the same thickness, not the same width. There's not necessarily really straight edges on it. This is going to look pretty good. It's going to shrink some, and there'll end up being some gaps in it, but that'll just kind of add character to it. The lap siding is going to be put up green because it ain't even sawed yet. But with lap siding, it really don't matter because you're going to get just a little bit of shrink on the ends, but it's minute. Where a board really shrinks is this way, side to side. As it dries, it'll shrink here and here. Don't really shrink lengthwise much, so it won't hurt anything. We can go ahead and put our trims on the corners and put our lap siding on, and the laps will shrink this way a little bit, but it won't really make a difference. The ends, as it dries and the ends shrink and everything, we'll squirt some caulk up the trim piece before we paint it, because I'm going to break out the old airless paint sprayer and prime and paint this thing probably this coming summer. Let this exterior siding sit on this thing long enough to get good and dry. But planned on kind of making an all-in-one here, but it looks like I might have to make another little video here because it's about to get dark on me. But I appreciate you guys watching. I know I've been a little bit slack on videos, but you can only make so many videos about selling Christmas trees and making wreaths. And I don't want to get just monotonous where nobody's watching it. So anyway, appreciate y'all. See you next time.